Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are joined once again by Randy Swaim, our Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach, founder of Coaching for Relevance, movie star. Yeah, he's an author, has his own movie out now, his own life story and journey. Do I go on and on? I'm going to have to, because also we got to commend and thank him for all his years in service as a pilot and what he continues to do for so many, focusing on his PhD, and there's so much to tell you about him. But he's an amazing person. We're excited he's back, and really love hearing more from you each and every time. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's always a pleasure to be with you, my friend. No two ways about it.
God bless. Same here, sweetheart. Thanks so much for being here. And you always have so much to offer. And for those out there, what do we say about you, your time, your work, your career? I mean, there's so much.
Yeah, could take a while. So yeah, there's I've been amazed and appreciative of the number, the many people out there that just appreciate what they get, what I bring sometimes, and all that. So
I mean, and
people I interact with and everything.
You were in the
so
Navy.
It's always a pleasure.
But you were in the Navy, right?
No, I was actually in the Air Force.
Air Force. I'm so sorry. In the Air Force. How many years were you in the Air Force for? Sorry.
I was actually, it was wild because I was commissioned in 2000. Well, no, not 2000. in 1979, and I was in the Air Force. Went to fly F4s, which I totally appreciate, and as a Wizzo and as an instructor Wizzo. But I spent 16 years there, and part of that was because at the end of that time, it was right at the end of the Gulf War.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of reduction in forces across, the National Guard and the Air Force and all that kind of stuff. And but I had an aviation training company here in Fort Worth that was trying to bring me down to here, and at that point I was a major, and I was told by one of the commanders that I had a lieutenant colonel without even breathing hard. And I said, well, I appreciate that, but you know what? When you look forward, this is just something I need to do. And so I basically retired after a little more than 16 years, and got my retirement, started getting my retirement pay here about a decade ago, kind of thing. And but I've very much appreciated my time in the military. It's what I loved. It's what my dream was. And I was very much aware of that. And I've been working with pilots and training and certifying and also developing trainers and team members and stuff like that along the way. And so I've just been very appreciative of that part of my career.
Got it. Beautiful. And one thing you learned, you teach everyone, is about leadership. And it was from, I forgot her name, someone who was in the Navy. That's why I'm confused. I was going to bring up what we talked about eons ago, right? She gave you some insight and a quote about, do you remember what I'm talking about?
I'd have to go back and try to remember that myself because it's been so long, like you said. But
it was something about
some people...
the differences in your career, right? And it was about leadership and management, and something it was a quote from her that that maybe made you start thinking more about leadership in a sense. Hence you started focusing more on that, and hence you have your own company, your own business, and all the above.
Yeah, she. Don't remember all the details about that because it's been so long ago. I know it's in my autobiography, and I probably mentioned it in the Hollywood movie documentary and everything. But there were certain people that I gained some real insights with, not because of what they taught me, but sometimes they asked some questions that really got me processing and understanding and perceiving certain things. And in terms of my approach and my focus and what my attention was and what I was doing and where I was going. And so there's some of that. Like you said, it's been quite a while back, and I'd have to go back and remind myself of that real quick, or go back and look it up in the book, just to have the name and all that, and for the situation. But there were some key people in my journey that I learned a lot, and this is what a lot of people don't realize today. When you're talking about true leadership, what you need to understand in many ways is what your people are going to truly learn and be developed by you and with what you're doing. And in fact, I was going to kind of mention this as a little bit of a in-depth flow from what we talked about last week and everything. But when you're talking about this true leadership, it's not just about you dictating to people. It's not just about you trying to tell them what to think or whatever. It's what they experience in you and what they see in you and how you do what you do and how you interact and how you develop and how you make things happen and all that. And those are the people that some of the incredible people that I've worked with in my career and learned from are people that, didn't teach you anything as far as just telling you something, but it was very aware in how they interacted and how they led and how they did what they did, and realizing how that was important. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. And a lot of people that are, quite frankly, a lot of people in today's world that are managers don't fully understand that. And it's interesting because, last week we were talking a little bit about it. And I mentioned that so many managers today try to pull everybody under their authority and just make it so they shut their brains off and just do what I tell them to do, kind of thing. If you do that, and I mentioned this last week, that's the dysfunctional nature of it. And what you want to do is lead your people and connect with them in such a way that they become, and very often it's what they experience from you that is unique and different than just the narcissistic control freaks and stuff. And so it's just something to think about with that. But the aspect of the real leadership and how you really develop your team for radical success is a little bit different than a lot of people realize or think about.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And for today, there's a lot to talk about. I'm sure you have something wonderful planned, as you always do. And we can always talk current events as well.
Yeah.
What is on the table for today,
Yep.
Mr. Swaim? Dallas?
Well, this is it. Yeah, this is it. I was just going to kind of mention this thing with people when you're interacting with your people, because remember last week I mentioned it's not about you just pulling them under your authority, but it's about, are you interacting with them in such a way that they are growing and they are becoming the true success within themselves. And that's what sometimes people don't think about. But one of the ways that you do that is not, if your only focus is on just waiting until you're just going to, point your fingers at your people and tell them what to do, and they just shut their brain off and do what I tell them to do. If that's your mindset, you're not being a leader.
Yeah.
Because what happens is the true success grows when you initiate wonderful conversations that not you told them specific things, but you helped model it in such a way that they processed. And there's an aspect of neuroscience with this, that, their brain truly processed what they're aware of, what their awareness has increased, and kind of what are the factors that come on scene that would affect that or make it successful, or how might they need to adapt the factors. That doesn't just purely happen because you pointed fingers at them and told them what to do. if you're doing that, you're really not growing your team and you're really not developing them
Yep.
so that they can handle the unexpected factors that can come on scene. And I will say this, I'll throw this out as another sort of picture of this, but it goes without saying. One of the pictures somebody might kind of look at is the aspect of when you're in the military leading your team in combat. Yes, there's
Hmm.
examples of where you've just got to tell your unit what to do and they go do it and do all that they can with it. So there are some times when that can be, but
Yep.
if that's the only thing you're focusing on, you're missing the boat. Because
Yeah.
what you need to be doing as you're going through is having some of those conversations and initiating some of those conversations where your people are processing and thinking. They're not just coming to your rote answer, but they're processing and they're really catching the picture of the possibility, but also the factors that they need to be aware of that might sneak onto the to the platform there with you, and how their thinking and decision making uh, may really be successful. And the reason that is so important because realize there are times when your team is
Yep.
going to be confronted with a unique situation when you're not there. You may be sick and at home or something or whatever, you know. It's not just about you dictating and pointing fingers, but it's about you developing them in such a way that even when you are not there, they can still reach the radical success, even in a challenging, unpredictable situation. And if you do that, and if your team can do that, then you have truly modeled and grown your team to reach radical success for what you're trying to do. And if you do that, guess what? You're doing your job.
Yep.
It, and
Beautiful.
it's not just telling them what to do, but it's about developing them to be able to do that. And that is just a huge part of the aspect of true leadership rather than just the dictatorial, you know, managers or whatever, you know, kind of thing. But you got the true leadership so that radical success can happen. And I'll tell you, in your organization, if your team is doing that, you are going to be getting a pat on the back
Hmm.
from the higher directors and everything. But the bottom line is not because you told them what to do. It's because you were sort of developing them
Yeah.
along and getting their processing ability. And this is the neuroscience aspect of it,
Hmm.
getting their situational awareness at play so that they can make the right decision and even handle it when unexpected factors come on scene and make the right choices to reach the radical success with it. And that's just the key part of leadership that sometimes people don't think about. It's not just about you dictating. It's not just about you telling them what to do. And
Hmm.
if you're leading them in such a way that you're just trying to pull them into your authority, you know, you're not getting the job done. Because here's the thing, if they are getting much, much better, you are in part the one that helped model that. But it doesn't mean they're just becoming dictatorial and just like you. No, that's not what it's being at all. They're being able to handle unexpected challenges that can come unseen when nobody else was expecting it. And the way you do that is by asking the right questions. And it's not just asking rote questions that get them to bring your answer to the solution stuff. That's not what you're trying to do necessarily. Now, that may happen sometimes depending on the situation that is arriving. But the bottom line is if you're fostering those questions that just get them processing, and some of the questions are not just rote academic things, they're their awareness. Like, you know, one of the questions somebody might ask on a situation is, and what's the one factor that might come on scene that you didn't expect? What is it? And get them to process and think about that. Having a thing where it says, what's the one factor that you think that you didn't expect? And it's going to be, you know, provide the greatest challenge when it surprisingly comes on scene or whatever. And what would you be on the lookout for on that? As you're going forward, what's your situational awareness like, so that you're basically watching for maybe some of those unexpected factors to be ready for them before they get there?
Yeah.
Now, they may not get there, and that's a good thing. But you know what? Being aware of that. And when you're talking about leading your team, if all you're doing is trying to get them to shut their brains off and just capitulate to you, you're not getting the job done, and you're not doing what's best for your organization. But if you grow your team in such a way that they can handle challenging situations like that, even if you're not there for some reason, um, you've done amazing things. And if your people have grown to become that in such a way, amazing things can happen. And I'll tell you, it can have an incredible reaction for your company, for your organization, for your team, and for you, because you were the one that helped ask those questions and helped develop your people, not to just fit rote academic things, but to truly be aware of the unexpected aspects where they can still make the right decisions and stuff like that. And so that's just something to think about. I was going to kind of dovetail out of what we talked about last week. If you do that, you're truly not sitting there trying to just get them to shut up and capitulate to what I tell them to do. If that's your only focus, you're not getting the job done, and you're not developing them, and you're not being a true leader. But if you can ask some of those questions and get their mental processing going, getting the neuroscience in their brains processing with possibilities, and what might I watch for that I don't expect to come on scene? What might I watch for? And things like that. And you can get
Yeah.
their brain processing that information. Amazing things can happen. But it's just a key aspect. And I thought I'd just share it as a outlook from what we talked about last week, but just at a slightly deeper level. And but this is just a key aspect of leadership that sometimes people don't think about. It's not just about you telling them what to do. Now, are there times when you need to do that? Yeah. Like I said, if you're going, obviously, if in the military, if you're going into combat, then the commander needs to, point out what we're doing as a team. But you know what? That's not what we're doing in a situation that's in an organization or something like that. But how one of the ways that the commander can actually get people excited like that and to be successful even in a challenging time like that is when they ask the questions and they have some of the conversations long before they get there and have to do that.
Yeah.
So that the people are mentally ready for it because of the processing they've done and the assessing they've done in their thinking and everything. Not just because you told them this, that, or the other, but because they engaged it. And like I said, a key aspect of leadership, which is different than just pure manager, a, a, a true aspect of leadership is when you're getting your people to think that, and you're getting them to process that and
Yeah.
have some picture in their mind where they're ready for it, even before perhaps that it happens. And so it's just, when you're talking about true leadership, that is a key
Yep.
aspect that sometimes people don't think about, but it's very critical.
Got it. What else are we going to learn from you today? My goodness. Always more to discuss with leadership and leadership in general. I think it happens not just in the workplace, it happens on an everyday basis. I mean, just
And
driving in
and
your
and you know
car.
what? It
Go ahead.
happens in your family, and everything, and if you think about it, how you're leading your family, how you're leading your children, your son and daughter or whatever, you know, if all you're doing is pointing fingers at them and telling them, you're not getting the job done. But if you have conversations where they really gain some insights on it as they're growing up, that can be huge. And so it's just a real key aspect of it. But like you said, it's across the board. And I'll tell you, if you're a true leader, guess what? you're applying that in ways that basically everybody that connects with you has a sense of it. And one of the things that you'll notice is a lot of people that work with you, a lot of people that connect with you are going to have different connections with you in a positive way. You can tell they're going to enjoy connecting with you on a day and just walking up and saying hi and or whatever, and their reaction is very unique because their experience of what you're doing and what you're bringing is a little bit different. And that's key. And so it's just something that, like I say, just a lot of people do not fully understand, because it's not just about dictating, it's not just about telling rote things or whatever, but it's about really getting the mental processing going. And that's a key aspect of the neuroscience awareness, where their brain has the ability to assess and process and make the right decisions in this situation. And even as a team, as they're talking together, guess what? If they're if the team is sort of growing that aspect of it, they talk together, and guess what? They come up with a couple of aspects of it that nobody else realized. But you know what? They can reach radical success that's way above what anybody expected. And so it's just a key aspect when you're talking about real leadership, of developing your team and making it positive like that. So it's just something to think about. But it grows out even deeper and more real than even what we talked about last week. So it's just that's what I thought I'd share. It's just a key aspect when you're a leader. Are you really developing that in your people, or are you trying to call them to just come over and shut up and just regurgitate to you? No, you do that, you're not being a leader. And so just something to think about.
We still got 5 more minutes left in the show, darling. What else do you want to talk about at this point?
Oh, okay. Well, that's basically what I was going to talk about, but it really is key. And it really is, if you understand, if you realize this, that leadership, if you look at a little different sense of this, leadership is not about calling attention to yourself.
Yeah.
It's not about patting yourself on the back. True leadership is about you connecting with people in such a way that they start to become way more than what they were. And they start being able to reach radical success in what they're doing. And they are aware of your name or whatever, but you know what? People go to them and ask them, and they may mention that they got this from you, kind of thing, or whatever. Who knows? But the bottom line is, true leadership is not about you calling attention to yourself. It's not about you giving yourself all the pats on the back and all that kind of stuff. That's not true leadership. True leadership is, and it's the essence of what I was talking about last time. It's not you bringing them over to kind of, let me get a pat on the back or whatever, but it's about connecting with them in such a way that they are actually becoming and growing and really assessing and becoming something that they weren't even before. And they kind of know you did it, but all the attention is on themselves. You know what? If your team, if your company is coming in and applauding your team for what they're doing, guess what? They're applauding your team, but if your team is doing that, you are partly responsible for that happening. And you know what? Part of that's from what you did, but it doesn't mean that you call attention to yourself. No, it's just your people are better. Your people are more successful because you did it right. You weren't just calling it to yourself. You weren't having them just become, you know, um, dependent on your dictation and your control freak stuff or anything like that. It's just they are gaining radical success and bringing magical results to the company, to their part of what they're doing. But you know what? If your team is doing that, then that is part of your applause. But you know what? if the team is getting the applause, don't be arrogant and try to call attention to yourself. Now, if your boss comes and asks you about it, can you be honest about what you did? Yep. But the bottom line is, it's just something to think about. As we talked about last week, it's not just about you bringing everything under your control so that you get all the applause and all this sort of stuff. That's not it. It's about you growing your people and connecting with them in such a way that they are becoming awesome and they are becoming, what you want to accomplish within your team and everything. And so it's just a key aspect about leadership.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Randy, how can we reach out to you? Do you mind sharing?
No, not at all. And as you know, if you go to my website, coachingforrelevance.com, and on the homepage, go down to the very bottom, it has my cell phone number and my email address. As somebody can reach out and contact me if they want to. Keep in mind that I don't do on the call sales pitches right at that or whatever, kind of thing. I just connect with people. If they just want to have a chat, we can just have a chat. But if somebody has a need, then yeah, we'll come up with something and we'll offer something if they have a need for that. So just something to think about. I look at connecting with people and all that, not just trying to play games with it, but they can go to my website and get my contact information if they want. And if they want to just have a chat, we can do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you as always. And until next time, we'll see you again in 7 days. Same time, same place. We'll be right here. Thank you so much. And thank you for always being here, so dedicated and just being a leader. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And I'll tell you, my friend, it's always a pleasure to be here with you. I appreciate who you are as a friend, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Ditto. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day, sweetheart. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.